Yeah. Well, I started Friday by put things in the boxes here to keep them, from getting lost and dusty and everything else. These are parts that are in process and are pretty much done. Um, and as I was reaching over, I banged into the box and just knocked everything around. So, yeah, that's how things go frequently on. Who knows what kind of a mess will happen here on relaxing painting sometimes with Dyson Dungeons. So I don't know. I just tried to move the box and banged into it and knocked things around. Well, here's the status of stuff. These are just about the very last bits of the Ford, the Lotus-Ford that won the 1965 Indianapolis 500. This isn't the real car. You could tell because it's pretty small, and that driver really wouldn't be able to fit into it. So it's not the car that won the Indianapolis 500. It is the model of the car, more or less. I mean, there's some historical inaccuracies in the construction of this model. And then there are some places where it was really done well and other places where it was done terrible. But these are the last, pretty much the last bits, other than the clear windshield, that are needed before the final assembly. This is the engine cover. I have painted it green. It looks like that didn't it didn't cover. Is that the tape or the plastic? Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Okay, just really seriously. I thought I did this pretty carefully, but I need to spritz little bits of paint right in these edges, especially here. I thought I got the edge, but see here, that could very well show after it's assembled. So yeah, I'm gonna just do that right at the beginning. I'm just gonna just do that and hopefully not mess things up, because sometimes when I do these things, like, just one little bit of touch up, then that looks like it's okay, but then it's not, because the little spritz of paint alligators it up. So I still want to unmask this today, but I can't until I do this. It's off camera and not something I really should be terribly much doing this Friday, and it's just a day. I'll explain more in a minute, because it is a day. I need to get a different can. This is a really old can of paint. So in order to finish that, I'm going to have to actually have to get. I thought today was going to be mostly okay until I examined that closely. Um, Here, stare at that for a while. Okay, stare at that and say, that could have been done and put in the done box, but no, it's not. So there. I'll be right back. It wasn't where I thought I left it, so I have to look around. That other can of paint that I was using that I shouldn't be doing here um, is an old can of paint, and it doesn't come out a nice fine mist. It just blobs up, and it really would have been a mess. Okay. Now, if this dries okay, it should be ready to go in about, well, before I finish the stream today anyway. Making a note. Top of the can so that I can remember which one is old and don't use it and which one is okay. So if you might have remembered from Wednesday, if you were watching it all, that's going to have a yellow stripe on it under the tape there, hopefully. This, I spent most of Wednesday cleaning off the paint because I totally screwed it up. And it looks okay. It looks like I salvaged it. So this is ready to be painted yellow now. Why yellow, even though the car is green? Because the stripe has to be under the green paint, because the yellow doesn't cover the green, but the green covers the yellow. So I painted all yellow so that the green will be consistent green, and then tape over where the yellow will be. So over the weekend, I will paint this yellow. Now, I might do a little bit of painting here today, because the inside of the nose just here has to be yellow. Okay. And that's how I totally messed it up earlier this week, whenever it was, is when I was spraying outside, that's fine. I wasn't getting the paint into the nose. And so I took the spray can and tried to spray it in the nose, and it just blobs of paint all over the front of this. I had to wipe it off and sand it down. It was just unfortunate. It was a most unfortunate situation. So what I might try to do today is get yellow paint inside the nose using a brush. I might just do that. The other thing are the mirrors. And I've been filling them and sanding them, and now I reprimed them because I'm trying to get the mirrors to look, like a flat, slightly convex mirrored surface. And I don't know if this is going to work or not. So this is like the fourth thing I've done with these mirrors in terms of painting them and filling them and sanding them. And there's something going on here. I don't know what that is. I don't know if you can see it. See, there's a slightly whiter spot there. And I've sanded this many times, so it's not discontinuous. I don't think there's a lump there. But if it's showing up under the primer, happen when the silvery paint is put on it. This one looks good. So what I'm going to paint these this metallic paint, and just see if that shows through or not. And if it does, then I'm going to have to continue to work on it. So these last little bits, something that probably should have taken maybe 2 hours total is ending up taking like 2 weeks. So I'll apologize for that, but it's just the way this thing is going. So the other thing I need to do is I pick it up, and now I'll show it to you in a little bit. Let me do this first. At least see if this is closer. This is closer than it's ever been to being okay. These mirrors, they're closer than they've been ever so far. To where they need to look so that they don't look like they did when they came out of the box, which was a big indentation in the middle of the thing that I kept filling in and sanding down and filling in and sanding down. And finally, I decided to put some primer on it to make the surface even for painting, because the metal paint is slightly translucent. So that's a lesson I've learned many times, and I do want to pass that along. This, like I keep saying, this is not a how-to show. It's frequently a how not to show. And I've learned by showing you how not to do some things that a lot of paints are fairly translucent. And the way to deal with that is to make sure that the surface that you're painting is of uniform color. Okay. The one way to do that is with the primer. Sometimes you'll still need 2 or 3 coats to make it look even, but the surface prep, I found that out on the Savoya the hard way. Very much happening with the brush here. By not having, thinking that the red paint that I was using would cover. I had some spots that were not uniformly primed, and it showed through even with 2 coats of paint, and I just had to sand it down and reprime the whole thing. Several instances of having to do things over because of that. Altogether too much paint on the brush here. When your paint is kind of translucent, the thing that needs to be done is the thing that works the best that I've discovered by doing it wrong many times is to make sure that the surface you're painting is of uniform color. I mean, it's just that simple, and that means having a nice opaque primer that will cover it and make sure that the primer is applied so that it provides a nice even color. Okay, so I'm kind of tired today, and the reason I'm tired is the same reason why I'm going to be ending the stream early today. Okay. The why I'm going to be ending the stream early today is that not last night, but the night before, a tree fell down. More accurately, half of a tree fell down. It's one of those trees that split. Well, it split at the split and tore it off, and it fell down and it did damage, okay, but it wasn't like horrible damage. It didn't take out the side of the house or break the roof or anything. It damaged about 30 feet of fence, because the branches fell on the fence and caved the fence in. It caused a little gate in the fence to be misaligned. We were really lucky it didn't crush the gate, because the gate that we have can't really be replaced. They're not making it anymore. So it just got misaligned. We're going to have to reassemble the gate, basically. And it broke an ornamental maple, knocked off about a third of it. That was kind of sad, but we spent a couple of hours yesterday. I was hauling branches and moving logs and stuff. That's why I'm feeling kind of tired and achy. To uncover, the maple that it broke one branch off completely, but the others were just bent. So we were able to move it, but there was a lot of wood that needed to be moved. Oh, did I get paint on my finger there? That's pretty amazing. So yeah, we were cutting up, moving branches, some of them big, like that, big chunks of wood, as well as lots of little branches covered with leaves, trying to save this other tree that had been essentially buried by this thing that fell. Well, that's all we did. There's a lot of big pieces of wood to be cut up, but more importantly, the other half of the tree, which is now not going to survive because it's split pretty badly, that needs to come down. And the part of the tree that split off is still sort of dangling. It didn't come off completely. It just cracked off. That has to come off, and we need people who really have the tools and the ropes and the climbing belay ropes and belts and things to get up there and clean that up. So what will be happening is that sometime relatively soon, we're supposed to be here by like 11:30 or so, there will be chainsaws and wood chippers going pretty constantly for several hours. And then the dogs will get all upset and they'll start screaming and yelling and barking and howling. And even though some of that sound will be filtered out by whatever thing is going on with this microphone, which seems to filter out a lot of things that are not a voice, there'll just be a lot of noise, and it'll be really difficult to work under those conditions. So I'm just not going to try. So when they show up, which will be between 11 and 11:30 probably, at least we hope, I'm gonna wrap up the stream then, rather than try to do stuff while they're here. It may be just as well, because there isn't that much I can do. At this point, there isn't that much I can do on this model. This needs to be painted yellow. And I can probably do that over the weekend. And then on Monday, I'll tape off be taping off this. The straight lines are okay, but the curve here will be that kind of a challenge. But you can see that the inside of the nose needs to be painted. So try to figure out how to do that. I wonder, do I have gloss yellow? This is it's a flat yellow. I can do that in a couple of ways. One is I can find a yellow that kind of matches the yellow of the spray paint and paint the inside of the nose with that, with a brush, okay, and spray paint around it. Or I can use the spray paint itself by spraying some into a container and then brushing it on, which I can do on the primer. But I'll explain I can't do otherwise. on other paints, including itself. Okay. So the yellow that I'm using as a spray paint is the same manufacturer as the yellow in that jar. If I use the flat paint, when I spray this, enough of it should be close enough. It should be close enough in color to not be terribly noticeable. Well, it can't hurt. Okay. I mean, this is a thing that it can't hurt. I'm going to paint the inside of the nose with this yellow, which is the same color as the spray paint, supposedly. It's just not glossy. And I think, I dropped it. That wasn't really helpful. This is quite a day, isn't it? I thought yesterday was a day. Oh, it was. Yesterday was a day with the tree coming down and other things going on that were mostly unpleasant. They got a bunch of other yellows. Thing called. So I've got sun yellow, which has some gloss on it here, but it's more orange than the yellow, and that the color difference probably is something. Don't want to have a color difference, a gloss difference maybe, but here, why not? Let me just do this. Like I said, the alternative is to put the spray paint in a container, just spray some out, make a little puddle of it, and brush that on. That has downsides, though, not the least of which is the fumes. Hi, Yuki. Oh, thanks for joining in as a first time chat. I'm doing pretty well today. I've only had one sort of minor disaster in the model building process, which is, not too bad for this particular stream. I was telling everybody just before that I need to finish early today because we have some tree removal people coming to remove a tree, half of which fell the night before last. So yesterday we were moving branches and brush to try to, get it off of things that could be hurt by it. But the tree removal people are going to be coming with chainsaws and wood chippers and making a whole lot of noise that will be, it'll just really be in the way. So if you're wondering what this has to do with Dungeons and Dragons, you should be wondering that, because this is a spin-off. It's like this is the Joni Loves Chachi of Happy Days. I'm sure that doesn't make any sense to you at all. Or the Mork and Mindy. But I'm painting models because this stream started when I was painting minifigs and dungeon tiles for a D&D show. Because Dice and Dungeons puts on a wonderful D&D show that you can catch on Twitch when it streams on Sundays, but more easily you can catch on YouTube or as a podcast. And so we make our own dungeon tiles for the show. and I can show them some to you in a bit. And painted them, and our DM said, well, if you're going to be painting them, let's stream the painting. And I thought, well, sure. I mean, I'm just painting anyway. Now I have to keep talking because we don't have music playing in the background like we should. Okay, I think this will work. The reason I'm painting this whole thing is going to be painted yellow, taped off so where the yellow stripe is going to be, and then painted green, so that it will, in the end, look like this. This is a picture of the real car. That's what this will look like. You might notice that the nose of the model is tapered more than the nose of the real car. That's because the model is not historically accurate in many ways. And so I've, in the process of building this, I've had to make some modifications here and there to make it look more like the real car. Okay, well, that may or may not need a second coat. I'll look at it later, but that was an okay way to do that, rather than trying to spray paint into the nose, which I did last week, which required me to completely sand this whole thing down and reprime it, which has put the construction of the model a week behind schedule. So yeah, I'll be, when the tree people show up within the next 30 to 60 minutes, probably, I'll just be shutting down because there'll just be way too much noise going on. And besides that, I have to help point out to them what needs to be done. Okay, so yeah, this is a spin-off of the Dice and Dungeons show. See, like this is my character from the D&D show. So that's Ralph, a Furbog fighter. I painted this on the stream. And we have some really amazing dungeon tiles that I'll probably show to you in a bit after working on the next thing I'm going to work on. Okay, these aren't going to be perfect, but I think they're going to be good enough. The next thing I'm going to be working on is the part of the car that's actually almost done. Okay. The front suspension is all put together. The instrument panel is installed. It's got the instruments painted on there pretty well. The engine and the rear suspension are attached and correctly configured. Okay. But what the issue is with this is that when I taped it for the spray painting, I taped it right up to the edge, which was intentionally and very cleverly, but as it turned out, stupidly done. When this part goes on top of that, a tiny little bit of that metallic shows in the seam, and so that needs to be painted green. Okay, kind of like this was done by accident. Why isn't somebody answering the phone? You can't hear the phone ringing. I can. Could be all sorts of people calling. Okay, well, I hope that wasn't the tree people that nobody answered the phone for. Okay, so what I need to do is just put a thin line right along. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a seam here between the inner bulkhead and the outer shell. That outer shell needs to be painted green. And I should, what I would do, what I should have done in the first place is when I taped this off, I should have taped it so that that part was exposed, so it would have been painted green. But I didn't. I was thinking something else that didn't turn out to work that way. I could use the spray paint, like I said, just spray some into a container and paint it on there. But the solvent in the spray paint is different than the solvent in the metallic, which is an acrylic. The acrylics don't dissolve each other. Once they're dried, you can layer one layer over another. But the solvent in the spray paint does dissolve the acrylic paint, and so what I would end up with is some sort of inconsistent and mushy mess of the green and the silvery paint. So what I'm going to do instead, since it's going to be just a seam that will only be seen in the shadows, it'll be hardly seen at all, is I'm going to use this gloss green paint, which is an acrylic paint. I can paint that over the metallic without it melting anything. And it's really close in color. It's close enough so that one shouldn't be able to tell the difference. One shouldn't be able to see the difference. I'll just say that. So I'm going to get it nicely stirred up. And pick one of these brushes. Probably this one, a really fine tipped brush. And then attempt to, a little plastic cover for the bristle flew off. This one works. This is a, yeah, that'll work. That'll do. Okay. So I want to, if I get a little bit too much on the metallic, that'll probably be okay. I don't want to get it on the outside. So I'm going to probably paint it from the inside, or at least try to as much as I can, so that if I slop some paint, it'll be on the invisible part, the not visible part. So what I'm going to try to do, because this is an acrylic paint, if I mess up the edges too much on the inside, I can get the aluminum colored paint back out and paint over it. There's, not too many things I can be doing today, and this is one of them that needs to be done eventually. So I'm going to do my best to work at it here. Hopefully not mess it up. That's nice. Stuck. Sometimes these bottle caps get stuck because a little paint gets into the threads of the bottle cap, and then that cements it shut. Switching brushes. one has a better tip on it. Let's just see how this goes. Hopefully it'll go okay. I have to put my head magnifiers on. There's not enough light and I can't see it. These are really handy. This is if you invest in anything, expensive things, if you're building models and you don't have much money and you need to invest in certain things, this is one thing I would recommend getting. Paint isn't coming off the brush. It was just a little bit lighter than the paint that's actually still on there. I mean, on the body. But like I said, it's going to be seen only in the shadows. So as long as I don't get it on the outside, at least, it should be okay. It's by far the safest alternative to using the spray paint. Which would be a definitely not safe alternative. My hand is not being very steady today. Getting vibrations, and they're not good vibrations like in the song. Nope. They're unhelpful vibrations. Turn this around. Okay. What I'm seeing, what I thought it was. Looked at it from the edge. I'm seeing a metallic line there. But the metallic line is the raised surface on the inside. Okay. This paint is behaving poorly. I've got a nicely ragged edge there, but I don't think that will be a problem because it will be invisible because this piece goes over it. Yeah, sorry for going quiet like this, but my beautiful clean edge there to be a liability. So when this paint dries, I'll put the other piece on top of it, just to make sure that if I have to clean up this edge, I'm not sure I do or not, but if I have to clean that up, to make it because it shows on the inside, then I can do that, with like a little razor blade and the metallic paint. This is not creating a nice clean edge. It's better on this side than the other. Seeing a spot I missed. Side. Well, when that's put together with the other piece, even though the paint doesn't match exactly, I mean, using this paint instead of the spray paint, I mean, that would have been an unmitigated disaster. This will look okay. Might need to come back and clean up this line, maybe. Well, what will eventually happen is this will go over that. This is going to be painted green also, including the edges, because I learned my lesson the hard way here by messing it up. See if any of that shows and whether I need to clean up the line or not. And then this part goes there. And the same sort of thing, you can kind of see through it. So I might have to clean up that line. Just right along there. Just so it looks nice and even. That'll be one way to use up another 15 or 20 minutes of streaming time doing something that will probably be invisible once the model is completed. But most of this will be as well. So it's sometimes that's just a lot of time can go into things that don't show later. Yeah, I don't know what that phone call was. I hope it wasn't important. I'm going to, you don't have to watch paint dry. I'm going to put this back in the box where it was before and cover it up so that it doesn't get dusty. I really need to learn not to just kind of like reach over like that. The box has little flaps on it and they need to fold in. And if I had just done that, it would have been okay. But I didn't. I pulled down on it and the stuff bounced around. Let me take these back. Yeah, it's almost 11. So there's just a few more things I want to do here before I have to finish early because the tree people are supposed to show up with their chainsaws and wood chippers and start making huge amounts of noise. And I won't be able to continue this while that's going on. Messed up more brushes. Just trying to get the brush into this thing that protects it from doing what I'm doing. Somebody arrived. These are the side mirrors that I've been working on for ever. Some of these parts I've been having to do over and over and over again in order to get them to look kind of okay. And these mirrors are two of them. putting multiple coats of this shiny metallic on, and then I'm going to polish them with extremely fine sandpaper. What is that thing there? It looks like a little piece of dust got on there. Nice. So hopefully what will come of this is that they will end up looking kind of like mirrors. I'm getting aren't bubbles. I'm getting like little pieces of grit or something. These days where things are going not perfect. After I get the faces of these mirrors done, because I had to reprime them, I have to flip them over and paint the outside again to get it to be the right color, the correct color. Hi, Aman. The batteries. Well, after filling them and sanding them, and then filling them and sanding them, I reprimed them yesterday. I put primer on them. And that seems to have taken care of the major inconsistencies in the color, because the silvery paint, aluminum paint, really was showing through some just the variations in color between the thicknesses of the filler and the plastic. So having reprimed them, I put 2 coats on, and that looks like it's coming along okay. So I'm going to put a 3rd coat on there and then use like jeweler's rouge level polishing to try to polish them, and then I'll paint the backs. And this came out okay. I reprimed it, and it looks like it came out all right. The feathering of the paint that was on there before, it worked out okay. And what I decided to do, what is a little bump there? Really? What I decided to do to paint the inside is I painted it yellow with a brush instead of trying to spray paint it. And it's going to be it'll be a little slightly different color and flat, not gloss. But I think it's yellow at least, and I won't have the same disaster I had when I spray painted it before. And I was going to unmask this today, but I had to repaint it because I had missed a spot. Now it's kind of lumpy looking. It's granular. It's not smooth. I don't know what to do about that. I think I'll just leave it. It's the right color. But I'm not sure I want to I don't know if I want to unmask it now. Paint might still be tacky, and if I get my fingers onto it, it could really just mess it up. I need to finish early today. In fact, probably in the next half hour or so even, because we had a tree fall 2 days ago, well, a day and a half ago, and spent yesterday, a good deal of yesterday, cleaning up all sorts of branches and trying to make sure that the fence and the gate were okay. But the people are coming by to cut the tree down and cut it up, and they're going to be using chainsaws and wood chippers, and it'll just be really, really loud, and the dogs will go crazy. Okay. That makes it pretty exciting. So be you're going to get into trouble with the kobolds, or okay, okay. So you're going to be working maybe along with the kobold faction. Okay, that's probably a wise thing, is to not get caught up in that. So next week, I'm going to paint this yellow. I think over the weekend. Try it again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, eventually it'll catch up with you. Sometimes that happens, doesn't it? I'm going to try the yellow painting on this again. Uh, Basically, going back to where I was a week ago. It was an entire week ago that it took to fix this. This will get unmasked. Hopefully, it will look okay. I'll test fit it. I'm going to look at doing some touching up painting on the bottom chassis. Where I just did some painting today. I might have to just do some edge manicuring in case they're visible. Right. So you maybe set something in motion that will come back to cause, oh, I don't know, some sort of excitement later on. That's a good way for a DM to manipulate things, I think, too. Yeah. So if I successfully paint this yellow, then on Monday I'll be able to tape it and then paint it green. And then it's going to be really close. All of this will be really close to the final assembly time, which will take longer than it should, like everything else, right? I mean, that'll be obvious, but it's getting very, very close to the time when I need to decide what I'm going to be building next. So let me talk about that a little bit. Why not? Okay, yeah, that's what will happen. Now you know something's going to happen, but you don't know what or when. That makes it kind of an interesting situation. I'm glad your session went well. So I'm just getting a couple of options here. Break anything anyway. This sounds good. I've got about a million different models here to work with. Spend a little bit of time going over them. The one of them. This is well, one of them is the Horton Flying Wing. Okay, that was a real plane. They actually built a couple of these, and the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum has one that they're sort of restoring as much as they can. A lot of it was made out of plywood, like the wings, because there was a metal shortage at the end of World War II in Germany. So most of the wings were made out of plywood, but it's like a flying wing with two jet engines. It's I actually saw it in the mm-hmm. when we went to the Garber. No, it doesn't hold up. It all delaminated, and it was quite a mess. But we actually saw this plane, got right up close to it in the restoration facility. It was in pieces. The wings and the engines and things were all sort of scattered around in a pile. But they're working on restoring it now. I mean, it's got interior detail like this too, where you can show where the engines are, and the engines are detailed. So I don't know, it's a pretty cool model. So that's an option. This one is kind of fun. This is the control, the command bridge, from the original series, the TOS, the Star Trek original series. I mean, as you can see, it is not expected to be an extremely well done model. I mean, it's not going to be really well constructed, but it might be kind of fun to build. I think it comes with these minifigs. I think the kit actually comes with Kirk and Spock, and looks like Sulu. I'm not sure. A mouse found it, but didn't get very far. I was a little concerned about this one. I thought, just like with the famous Ford that I'm building, that I would be destroying $50 worth of value. But I've looked this up on eBay, and it's not a very expensive model. So there's that one. This one's kind of weird. Okay. No, I don't know. I haven't opened the kit, so I don't know who's included. But it might not be with it. There might not be the dock. It might not be Chekhov either. This is a tiny, tiny scale model of a plane that doesn't exist. It's the Aurora. There are rumors of this back like 30 years ago, that there was a super hypersonic jet flying over Area 51 in the Delta configuration, but it's been denied, and there's no evidence that it ever happened. But of course, somebody made a model of a plane that didn't exist. Why not? It's a small model, but I think it's kind of, it's kind of like the Enterprise command bridge. It's a kind of a fun thing. There's the X-15, which was one of my favorites when I was growing up, because I was growing up when this thing was flying. And this is a really hard to find kind of kit, because it's in 1/48th scale. And almost all the X-15s I've been able to find were 1/72nd scale. But this is 1/48th. Yeah, I mean, models of things that don't exist. That's pretty fun, right? This was made in the Czech Republic. I didn't know that they made models there, but for somehow or other, I found this on eBay, and it's really tempting to do this, because I really like this aircraft, this rocket-powered aircraft. And apparently it contains highly detailed cast pilot figures and colored photo-etched parts. I'm curious about this one, just to see what it's like, because I don't know this. That what kind of model that would be. Then there's the Mercury Atlas. This is a 1/72nd scale model plastic kit, but when it's built, if one is successful at building it, it's supposed to end up looking like that. And it can actually be configured in several different ways. Including 2 capsule variants, one with the windows and one with the porthole, because they changed the Atlas configuration. You can see that there's a change there, but also the capsule is different. So this is a pretty nice model. And I really, when I was growing up, I was, fascinated by the Atlas Mercury kind of thing. So that's an option. Now I've got them all sitting on my lap here where they're going to fall off. Last option, this is hard to show you because it's a really big box and I'm probably going to knock something over, is this yacht. The Schooner America. This is the model of the yacht that won the first America's Cup. And this is plank built. It's a wooden model. And it's basically built one stick at a time, like rebuilding the entire ship. And if it came out looking like this, it would be incredible, wouldn't it? It'd be really amazing. It comes with brass fittings and all these lines, these strings that need to be tied on and attached. I don't know if I have the skill to pull this off or not. But this is one of the first models I built. Not built. So one of the first models I bought when I thought that I would be building models, which I ended up not doing. But that's the kind of detail that one is supposed to end up with if one is successful at making it happen. So it's still taped. I haven't even opened it up. So those are some options I've got for what I will start building next. And I don't know which one I'm going to end up doing. I'm kind of tempted to stick with fairly small models. Yeah, it would take a few years to build that ship, right? They probably should just resell the ship. That model probably still has some value to it. Be better off sold than mangled, which is what I might end up doing to it. I'm going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes. I just wanted to show those as options. I'm kind of leaning toward either the X15 or the Aurora that doesn't exist. Though the Enterprise command bridge is pretty tempting. It's just too weird. I've got like 3 dozen other things. I've got a giant V2 that stands maybe 3 feet high. I've got a Shelby. I've got some cars too. A Shelby GT350. That would be pretty neat. Blue with a white stripe is the way it needs to be done. I've got a Ferrari. I've got a Lamborghini. I've got a 1957 Corvette. That's a pretty nicely detailed model. Old Ironsides, the USS Constitution. That's a sailing ship too. It's a plastic model, not a wooden one. And it just goes on. There's just tons of stuff. What I'm going to do before I wrap up, just to do it, is I'm going to put a 3rd coat of paint on this. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, the Aurora model. I think the Aurora model would actually, it would be fast. There aren't a lot of parts. It's just to be, it would end up being painted just one color, just spray painted the one color on the outside and put the decals on. It might be a model that I could build, I mean, compared to some of these, relatively quickly. And relatively quickly, it'd be, I think, a good thing to do maybe for the rest of the year. If I took on that sailing ship, the yacht America, that would not be quick. I think that would be a thing that would take way over a year. It would be a long, long haul. The Horton is kind of tempting, but I would really need to develop some airbrush skills to be able to paint it correctly, I think. And I think I might have these mirrors finally. Um, I am going to attempt to polish them on Monday and then paint the rest of it. They're better. They're better than they've been every other attempt. Yeah. Have you written? Did you finish the letter that you were sending? And did you decide to what gift you were going to be giving? Did you decide to give the potion as a gift, a parting gift? Okay. But Monday you deliver the letters, so that will be finished then. Okay. That's what you had mentioned, that you were thinking of giving that as the gift. I think that's a really good one. It was your very first one. So it's a meaningful gift as well. Okay, well, here's the status of things. Um, this needs to be painted yellow again. And then I'll do that over the weekend, and hopefully that will go okay. And then I'll tape off the stripe as well as I can, the nose. And then the tricky part is getting the swoop here, the curve, right? Yeah, it is. That's really a meaningful thing. So on Monday, hopefully this will look yellow, and then I'll put this tape on, and hopefully it will work. Hopefully it will look good. Maybe hopefully I'll be able to get that swoop going. And then if the tape is, behaving, I'll paint the rest of it green. And if that all worked, then I can do final assembly with all of these parts. This part here, the paint, the surface texture of the paint is a little bit pebbly, I guess I'll say. You can just see it's a little rough. But, the color is good. So I'll be unmasking this on Monday, and hopefully it'll be fine. And that'll be ready for assembly. I'm going to test fit these parts to see if I need to make adjustments in the edge between the green and the silver paint on the chassis. And then doing, a whole bunch of little stuff like attaching the fuel fillers and the windshield and painting the seat so that it is historically correct. There's some rear suspension parts that need to go on this somehow. I'm not really sure how, but I'll figure that out. And then, yeah, hopefully be able, once this is nicely painted, go ahead. What I've learned by trying to build models good is that, the surface preparation is really important, but no matter how good you are at assembly, if the painting goes bad, it's just all screwed up. And unfortunately, that's my least skill. So so models that would otherwise be like A's, solid A's, sometimes turn into B pluses because of just painting issues. People who are really good at painting, especially with an airbrush, can cover up issues of surface prep, things like that. So my skills are just like the opposite of what would be ideal, I think. So instead of having the skill that lets me cover up a lack of skill, I have a skill lack that emphasizes problems that wouldn't be there otherwise. That's what'll be happening. Is I'll be unmasking this, and hopefully that will be fine. Maybe a little bit of touch-up of aluminum paint on the inside. I'll be polishing the mirrors and then repainting the outside of them, and taping the stripe on this, assuming the yellow paint came out okay. And a little bit of touch-up on the chassis, the bottom part of the car, that is otherwise ready to go. Yeah, these last parts are just, it's just moving very slowly. Yep, just moving really, really slowly, especially the taping part. The taping of that stripe is going to be really important because that's the main part of the car that you see. When you look at it, that is the part that really jumps out at you. And so this yellowness really has to be done nicely. Well, I am going to wrap up because the tree people will be pretty soon. Chainsaws and wood chippers and dogs barking and all sorts of stuff. And hopefully they'll do okay without hurting themselves or anything else around here. The tree that has to come down is leaning way over some other things, and it's going to take a lot of skill to get that thing down without causing more damage. So hopefully they will have that skill. I'll be back on Monday. Aman, thanks for joining in, and I hope that your Monday session, Monday's game, I'll hear about it on Wednesday of next week. And I think that's really, really cool that you're giving your very first potion, the first perfume potion, as a going away gift to a person who's changing their character in the game you're playing. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for understanding me shutting down early here today. And I hope you'll be able to come back on Monday where you'll see some progress, and I'll be having to work on some other things as well. See you then.